Do you ever find it a little challenging to create drawings that have a more relaxed and loose feel? Do imperfections disturb your creative flow, throwing off your rhythm? You are not alone. In today's tutorial, let's leave those worries behind. Join me for a loose urban sketch without the usual pencil outlines. With just a pen and some markers, we will explore line styles and take a step-by-step journey through drawing and coloring. Let's embrace imperfection and have a fun time sketching this charming small shop. Big thanks to Ohuhu for sponsoring today's video. I'll be using Ohuhu markers and trying out their colored fineliner. Before we start the drawing, let's warm up with some line practice. Speed and pressure are key factors to consider, and remember there's no right or wrong way to draw. Usually when we draw lines, we go at it slow and steady, so we can have more control over it. The line stays consistent, no line weight changes, unless we change our pressure or speed. You can follow along with this part to practice or speed up to see the final result. I will share some daily line exercises you can do at the end of this chapter. With a slow and steady speed, that's what gives us a drawing like this. To achieve a more relaxed and free feel, we need to adjust our drawing speed. As the speed increases, our pressures on the paper changes, leading to a slight unintentional variation in line weight. The faster we draw, the thinner the line is. At a higher speed, controlling the line becomes more challenging. This is a line style I used in one of my tutorial videos where I drew an alley. You can find the link in the upper right corner. Now check out how the drawing loosens up compared to the first one. To give it an even more laid-back chill vibe, let's throw in some wavy lines or tiny curves. At this time, let's take it a bit slower than the second drawing. Instead of sticking to precise straight lines, let your hand wander a bit. Let those lines be anything but perfectly straight. Feel free to add curves wherever you like in the moment. By playing with our drawing speed, we've got 3 different line styles, each invoking a different vibe. Now there are plenty more line styles out there, but I won't overwhelm you with all of them in this video. For today's drawing, I'm combining style 2 and 3. I'm still exploring as I go. Some daily exercises could be drawing a rectangle and filling it with lines. Or we can draw 2 dots and connect them. Experiment with different directions, and don't forget you can rotate your paper if a certain angle feels tricky. Keep those lines inside of the box to practice controlling your hand movement. Another simple practice is drawing cubes. You can do it whenever you have a pen and some paper. It's super relaxing and fun. You can throw in some trees and details like I'm doing here to spice things up. It does take a bit of practice to get that loose and confident look. I still hesitate lots of times, worried about making mistakes. It's totally normal. Don't get frustrated. Remember, every line you draw is progress. When you are ready, let's dive into the drawing. Before we dive in, let's set a quick goal. In this drawing, we are committed to finish, no matter what mistakes we might make. Embrace those small imperfections and trust the process. Feel free to try out any color combinations you like. In this drawing, I'll be using 2 reference photos. You can find the picture links in the description box. While I like the overall vibe and the color theme of the scenes, I'll be making lots of changes and won't stick precisely to the photos. Don't stress about all the details. We will simplify things to make it easier to draw. Now here's a little tip. I often struggle with keeping my drawing centered on the paper without a bit of guidance. So let's start with a very light colored marker for a rough sketch. Begin with some dots to mark the major lines, then sketch out the building's overall structure. Instead of keeping it strictly straight, let's add some flair by narrowing the bottom of the building, doors, and the windows. It gives a building a bit more character. But it's totally optional. If you prefer a straight building, go ahead and draw it the way you like. I've decided to remove the tables and chairs in front of the building, while adding more details inside. I also want to include a few stone steps in front of the shop. Now I'm ready to move on to ink work. If you feel like it, don't hesitate to keep using the markers for additional outlines. I have to admit I'm feeling a bit nervous as I begin the drawing, especially not quite satisfied with the flower pot I just drew. However, it's crucial to keep in mind that one of our goals is to not let imperfection disrupt our rhythm, and to finish this drawing no matter what. Just push through, your hand and mind will naturally find a more comfortable rhythm soon. Remember, any emotions or feelings that arise are part of the story our drawing is unfolding. And that's a fascinating part about our journey. For the pen, I normally use size 3, which is 0.35mm. Going too thick can extend drying time and increase the likelihood of smudging. A super thin pen may not let the ink flow smoothly when you are drawing quickly. Size 3 strike a balance and it's my go-to choice often. When outlining the plants, I will focus on capturing their basic forms, rather than detailing individual leaves. Instead of drawing vines directly on the wall, I'd like to add them on top of the sunshade. Using small curved marks, I will outline their contours to give them a fluffy appearance. One thing I like to mention is that for very beginners, when using a reference image, reproducing what you see is also important. While I'm adding and changing a lot through improvisation, when I first started learning urban sketch, I aimed to replicate the picture precisely. This helped train my eyes, brain, and hand to better perceive and translate what I saw onto paper. So if you find it challenging to draw things from your imagination, don't feel discouraged. Keep practicing and we will make progress. In loose sketches, we don't necessarily have to capture every detail, but integrating some details can enhance the drawing's dimensionality. Take doors for instance. Instead of a simple rectangle, we can add the thickness of the wood plank. When drawing a door opening, add a couple of lines to show details like the frame and the transition strip on the ground. Moving inside the shop, I will start with the item right at the front, the reception desk. Just a simple rectangle. Then I'd like to add a shelf behind it and arrange some tables around. Towards the back, I'd like to include another door, just like in the reference photo. And of course, let's not overlook the ceiling. This video is mostly in real-time speed. I hope it helps you better see the pace of my hand movement. I do often pause to think about what to draw and what to leave out. I decided to use stone slabs instead of a wooden porch. The reference picture had a round porch, but I went for a straight one to keep it simple. Regardless a bumpy start, I'm actually very pleased with how the overall line work turned out. The imperfections somehow come together to create a harmonious and soothing look. Before we jump into the coloring part, take a break, stretch a bit, and I will be right here waiting for you. Let's begin by adding color to the indoor lighting, so that we don't accidentally cover them with dark colors later. I want to emphasize that you don't have to have many colors to follow along. While you might see me using many colors, lots of them are quite similar. And I'm just experimenting with what I have to see how they blend. Having a limited color selection isn't a drawback. It can challenge your creativity sometimes. For example, in a recent tutorial on drawing plants, I had a limited set of marker colors, not my usual palette. Initially, it was a bit challenging, but through practice and testing the colors, I ended up creating something I really like. If I had more color options, I might have stuck with what I was familiar with and missed out on discovering something new. If you don't have a wide range of colors, focus on practicing your marker strokes and creating different tones by adjusting the speed and pressure. Of course, if you do have access to more colors, it can make the drawing process easier depending on the theme. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. One of the goals of this drawing is to loosen up and experiment with colors that we think will work well. The lighting in this drawing comes from the upper left, although in the reference it's actually from the upper right. I've become used to drawing with shadows on the right side. Perhaps in the future I will challenge myself to draw a different lighting direction. When sketching individual items, we focus on capturing many details. However, when several elements come together, it's important to decide which one will be the primary focus of the drawing, while the others will have fewer details. This creates a contrast between areas with intricate details and those with a more relaxed feel. Take, for instance, the flowers in the front of the shop. I will emphasize shadows and depths, adding more intricacy. For the ones in the background, I will simplify the shadows to provide less detail. A frequent question I receive is about where to start practicing as a beginner. One advice I often give is to begin by drawing a single object, such as a sphere, cube, plant, or rock, all of which I have covered in my previous tutorials. Once you feel more comfortable drawing individual objects, you can progress to sketching a small scene with plants, trees, and rocks together. However, you don't have to strictly follow this order. Everyone learns differently, so feel free to choose the approach that suits you best. A helpful tip is to let your marker strokes follow the shape of the object if you are unsure how to apply them on paper. For instance, I will use curved strokes on the plant pot and straight strokes on the sunshade and porch. You can check out my last tutorial on how to draw a rose. Here, I made it look a bit messy, but luckily, it's on the side, so it doesn't affect the overall drawing too much. However, I do regret placing the rose next to the flower in front of it. Both of them have a long form, and together they appear a bit repetitive. If I were to redo this drawing, I'd position the rose on the right side of the building. Now, when it comes to choosing colors for different parts, the truth is I don't have a set formula. There are numerous color theories available online, but understanding the theory is one thing, and applying it to paper is another. The best way for me to learn is through practice. I encourage you to try out all the colors you have, and not be afraid of making mistakes. For other tutorials I've created, I often go through 5 to 10 or even more draft drawings before filming. I experiment with colors, try things out, fail, try something else, and eventually come up with something I really like. Many times it's a surprise from a lucky guess. I'm still learning about colors and want to get better at using them. I'm very happy to have you on this journey, and I hope we can learn and grow together. Here I want to add a railing on top of the store, but I wasn't sure if it would complement a drawing or potentially ruin it. Worried about the outcome, I used tracing paper to test it. As you progress in the drawing, I recommend slowing down your pace and take more breaks to avoid overdoing details and adding too much darkness when your eyes are tired. Currently, the drawing appears quite light, lacking a bit of grounding. To improve this, I recommend using a thicker pen to enhance certain lines, particularly on the shadow side. This step not only adds depth and dimension, but also anchors the drawing. Experimenting with line weight in specific areas can significantly impact the overall impression of the artwork, making it more dynamic and engaging. So don't hesitate to play around with the thickness of your lines. To bring out more detail and enhance the visual appeal of specific elements in the drawing, consider using white paint to add highlight. For example, applying a touch of white paint on the door frame. You can create a subtle gleam, making them stand out and adding a realistic touch. Similarly, adding highlights to plants can give them more dimension. Don't be afraid to experiment with the intensity of the highlights, adjusting them according to the desired effect and the source of the light in your composition. Sometimes, if the highlight is too strong, you can use your finger to smudge it slightly, toning it down. I took a bold step by using a vibrant orange color, aiming to infuse the indoor lighting with a lively and energetic feel. I'm pleased to say that this daring choice turned out to be quite successful. I really enjoyed creating this drawing. There are moments of nervousness, excitement, and happiness, much like writing a story. This is one of the reasons I love drawing. I hope you had fun creating this drawing with me. I'm excited to hear about your artistic journey and the unique story you've woven into your artwork. Thank you so much for keeping me company, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.